Good evening. This is the October 3rd, 2019 meeting of the Monroe Planning and Zoning Commission. We're meeting in Town Council Chambers, now 7:04 p.m. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commission, please introduce yourself, starting on my right.
Robert Westland, alternate.
Brian Condon, alternate.
Bruno Maini, Commissioner.
Leanna Broadley, Commissioner.
William Porter, Chairman.
Paul Lisi, Secretary.
Will Agresta, Planning and Zoning Administrator.
Rick Schultz, Town Planner.
Who do we seat tonight?
Anybody but Ryan. I'm kidding. I like Ryan sometimes.
And would have been, huh? So it's
What's that?
Ryan.
Ryan. Yeah. You're the winner.
Mr. Ryan, you're seated for this evening's meeting unless Michael shows up. Organizational administrative matters, we don't have anything. Item number 4, general public participation. Is there anyone who would like to address the commission on something that's not related to a hearing or an application? Seeing none. General appointments, we have none. Public hearings. See any legal notice?
The other one was reconvened, we're reconvening the first one.
Right.
Yeah, and the last one is flipped on.
Okay, instructions for a public hearing. There are 2 sets of microphones for both public address and recording of the proceedings. Due to the need for recording, it is important to stand at the microphone at all times and speak into it loudly and clearly in order that everyone in the room can hear and to capture what is being said. Individuals speaking from the seats will not be heard and will not be recognized to speak. Order of the hearing of an application. Points of order and responses will be entertained. Exhibits will be read for the record. Applicant and/or representatives will present the application and will answer commission questions. The floor will be open to those in favor. The floor will be open to those opposed. The floor will be open to general comments or questions. The floor will be open to the applicant, who may take the opportunity for closing remarks or rebuttal, after which discussion will close. The applicant or his representatives are the final speakers. No comment shall be accepted from anyone unless recognized by the chair. All questions and comments shall be addressed to the chair, who will determine if an answer shall be provided and by whom. There shall be absolutely no discussion between speakers and audience. The Commission has no intention to limit the right of any person to speak, but asks that speakers try not to be repetitive. Please try to present new information. If something has been said before, the Commission would invite you to indicate your agreement with previous speakers. At no time shall there be displays of emotion such as applause, cheering, shouting, or similar noise. This is critical as this hearing is being recorded. If this happens, you will be cautioned. A vote or demonstration by a show of hands, standing by the audience, or similar action will not be recognized. All parties are requested not to talk between themselves while the hearing is in progress. If you feel a need to talk, please step out into the lobby. All speakers, when recognized, must advance to the microphone to speak. Please state your name and address for the record. The chairman reserves the right to cut off discussion if it is not relevant to the application or is presented in an inappropriate manner. This is a legal proceeding, much the same as what would occur in a courtroom setting. We request that all parties observe the proper decorum that will be observed in that setting. Please turn off all cell phones or similar devices. If you have a need to use these devices, please leave the room and use them outside. First up, item number 6, SCP 2019-09, file number 16198, 371 Old Zor Road. Special exception permit application to construct a wood frame 24 by 24 detached 2-car garage with parsonage property of Beacon Hill Evangelical Free Church at the end of existing driveway within existing grass yard area, including subsurface electrical service connecting parsonage residence to new garage. Beacon Hill Evangelical Free Church, property owner applicant, and this is a continuation of a hearing that was open at our last meeting. So what do we have for new exhibits?
Exhibit 9, a butters list with certified mail receipts to finish up the outstanding ones that missed the first time. And Exhibit 10, garage and driveway plan, that's all.
Okay, for the applicant?
Richard Dennis for Beacon Hill Church, 371 Old Zor Road. We don't have a lot of new information tonight. We presented it all last time. Most of you were here at that time, so I hadn't presumed.
Do you have the green cards from the?
We have
meeting
submitted
that
those
were
to
there?
the,
I
yes.
wasn't listening that closely.
Okay.
Yes, those are all complete now.
Okay. From the staff end, there was some issue with the drainage. Did that get resolved, Will?
I know that Scott has been going back and forth, and I think they're pretty close. There was a latest information forwarded to us this afternoon, which we didn't pass on to the commission, that Scott hasn't had an opportunity to look at, but Scott said that it's there, just a little bit more tweaking may be done.
Okay, so other than that, there are no other issues open with this application?
No, not really.
Okay. If you remember, we went over the site plan at our last meeting. We had to continue this because a sufficient number of property owners in the area were not notified, so we had to give them an opportunity to notify those property owners. So does anyone, start down at the end, does anyone have any questions? On the
No
plan of
questions.
the application?
None.
Yes, sir.
All right, since this is a continuation of the public hearing, let's just see if there's anybody in the audience that would like to weigh in on this. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this application? Anyone who would like to speak in opposition? Any general questions or comments? Back to you, sir.
Yeah, we would request your approval of the application
Okay.
this time.
What do you think?
Close it.
Will, is there anything that would prevent us from closing this hearing?
I don't think so.
Okay. Hearing's closed,
Thanks, sir.
7:11.
Should all be like that.
Planning and Zoning Commission, Monroe, Connecticut, notice of public hearing to be held October 3rd, 2019. In accordance with Connecticut General Statute, Section 8-7D, a public hearing will be held in the Town Hall Council Chambers, 7 Fan Hill Road, Monroe, Connecticut, on Thursday, October 3rd, 2019, at 7 p.m. or soon thereafter, concerning the following: SCP 2018-10-A1, file number 1605A, 232, 234, 236 Main Street, B2 District, permit approval amendment modification application to restore the unauthorized removal of a landscape buffer, including modifications to approved drainage and landscaping improvements, and expand previously approved concrete pad in front of propane storage tanks. 234 Main Street LLC, property owner applicant. Complete details and copies of all related materials associated with the above matters are on file and available for viewing in the Monroe Planning and Zoning Department offices. It was published twice in Voices. Well, what do we have for exhibits?
Exhibit 1, permit approval amendment modification application with attachments. Exhibit 2, plan set. Exhibit 3, AOT engineering comments. Exhibit 4, AOT planning and zoning comments. And Exhibit 5, the butters list with certified mail receipts and green cards. That's it.
Okay, for the applicant.
Good evening, members of the commission. My name is Pat Bjork and Associates, and we have offices here in Monroe, and I'm a professional engineer registered in the state of Connecticut. The application before you tonight,
That's mine. You can do,
the other one. The application before you tonight is to modify a previously granted special exception permit. I'm sure most of the commission members will recall that earlier this year, the commission approved the installation of two 30,000-gallon propane tanks in the rear of 234 Main Street. The tanks are located in this area here. What happened was when we installed the tanks, we were required to install a 6-foot-high chain link fence in this area. And as you can see, this is the previously approved plan. There was a row of white pine trees here, double and triple spaced, that had been installed 50 years ago. And to install the chain link fence, some of these trees had to be removed. After the trees were removed, there was one row of pines left standing in the rear here, and the decision was made in the field to remove the rest of those white pines. Now the white pines that are in this area, as I said, they're 50 years old. They have no branches on them up to probably about 25 to 30, even maybe a little bit more off the ground. So they really weren't required, providing a visual barrier. To look at the piece of property, Sippin Fuel Terminal is down here. You come up about 12 feet to this area here. This is a meadow. And then we move onto a wetland area that on average is about 80 feet wide that runs to our rear property line. And then these are residential properties that are located on Old Newtown Road. Old Newtown Road is 500 feet away from where the tanks are being installed in the bulk of the activity of 234 Main Street. So the trees, we did include them in the buffer as part of the buffer plan, but the fact that they've been removed, I don't think compromises the overall idea of providing a buffer to residential properties. As you all know, the required buffer to residential properties is 30 feet, and we have far in excess of that. In addition to that, in this area here, as the result of a wetland violation that had been cleared up, this entire area here, and even north of the property line, has been planted with a combination of evergreen trees and deciduous trees. And in this area here, although they are not particularly high at this point in time, in the future, there's about 40 trees that have been planted in this area here that will grow to provide an additional buffer. So the point I want to make is that there's plenty of buffer to the residential area. This is the zone line here, and we far exceed the 30 feet that's required. What we're proposing, and Kate Throckmorton from the ELS is here with me this evening, and she'll get into what has been proposed as a replacement buffer in this area, which is to be located at the top of the embankment. But we are proposing a replacement buffer in this area, and this again will be planted and mature in the future. We are proposing a couple of other modifications along with this application. One of the things that we had in the previous application was at the end of this is a concrete pad where the propane trucks are actually going to pull up and be fueled. In order to create a demarcation, a separation point between the parking in this area here and the propane loading, we had proposed, and the commission approved, a small landscape island here. When we looked at it operationally, and we've had the benefit now of the people who are actually doing the construction of the terminal, constructed tens of, maybe 50 of these. They have said operationally to have a landscape island right in this area is not a good idea, and so we've relocated that landscape island to this area here. Another thing that has changed, and it really had nothing to do with the actual propane terminal, but there was a small septic system that was located right here that served one toilet in the building here, and it was decided in the process that it would be a lot easier if we just eliminated that toilet, and that eliminated a septic system in this area. In the previous application, we had a landscape area here to which where runoff was to be directed, and then was to just going to, what didn't recharge in this area was going to flow out through, there's a sort of a swale and a crushed stone. Without the toilet, we were able to come back through and place a catch basin here. We reconfigured that landscaping island slightly. This is the area the commission may recall. Just north of this landscape area is a concrete pad where we're proposing to keep the dumpster, which is where the refuse, the metal refuse goes from. It comes out of heating and ventilating replacement jobs. So that's the essence of the application. Now I'd like to introduce Kate Throckmorton so that she can talk with regards to the landscape.
Yeah. Dave, I just want to correct one thing on you. You said that the landscape island that was here, you relocated here.
Yes.
This actually is the islands that were in the approved plan. There was one here, and there was one here already.
You're correct. Yes.
So it just got removed. It didn't get moved, right?
Yeah.
Hi, good evening. For the record, Kate Throckmorton, licensed landscape architect with Environmental Land Solutions. We prepared the buffer plan to replace the trees that were unauthorized and to come down, as Dave had noted. The plan itself includes the planting of 26 trees. 25 of these are evergreen with one shade tree along the road. They include native and non-native species at this point. We also have some general verbal comments that we got back to respond to the staff. I know there was some concern whether these entries, I presume, where the concern was if they were structurally compromised. There was no physical damage to these trees, but I think the extent could have been that they were concerned with wind throw for the newly exposed trees that are not used to wind stresses. Certainly this is a possibility. There's no real way to evaluate that. Wind gusts, as I think we're all familiar, can be very random, but those trees could potentially be a little bit higher risk. The only way to provide some buffer on the end to divert any direct wind gusts at the exposed trees, and I think this plan addresses that. The second question regarded more screening to the south, which was in this area. In reviewing the approved plan, I actually noted that there were supposed to be 7 trees on the approved plan that have not been included in this plan, so they will be incorporated back into this plan. So I think that area will be, that comment will be accommodated. There's also a comment that the green giant arborvitae that we included, which are these trees with the X's there, Will didn't think those were appropriate. Those certainly can be changed out for some native species. And he also asked that all the trees be changed to native species, and that also can be accommodated through the next revisions. There was also a question about the size of the white oak on the tree list. That will be revised to diameter breast height as requested. Then there was also a general question about whether we can incorporate some larger trees. The answer is yes. Generally, those trees over 16 feet height are generally not native. The ones that are readily available, generally Norway spruce. The ones that we have proposed are 10 to 12 feet in height, larger than the previously approved sizes, which were ranged from 5 to 6 or 6 to 8. In this area, in particularly, these tanks are set about 8 feet below this top grade, so the 10 to 12 foot height we thought was really appropriate because it will provide substantial screening for those people further below, or I should say above. They're looking down. But if there's any clarification regarding the sizes or input, I'd appreciate that, or if there's anything in particular where the staff felt that it was appropriate to put them, I'd be happy to hear that.
What are you proposing to use instead of the arborvitae?
Well, I think if we go back to the native list, that basically gives us the white spruce, is probably the plant that we're going to go with.
Okay. And what are you proposing to put in for a height on the white spruce?
Well, those are readily available up to 10 to 12 feet, so that's is what we would suggest at this point. But like I said, we can accommodate the comment from the staff if the commission wishes. I think he had asked for a varied height, so right now they're all 10 to 12. So if I'd appreciate any input, and so I could clarify that on the plan when we do our revisions.
Okay, well, we'll get to the staff questions, or the commission questions after everything has been presented.
Okay. Well, I don't have any more comments right now.
Okay. Dave, there were some engineering questions or engineering comments about the location of the catch basins and some of the drainage. Do you care to address them?
Said previously, this is the low point. Everything in the, this is an existing parking lot that's been here for a long time. Everything drains to this point here where we had proposed a catch basin. There had been a catch basin there. It had been removed because it was in conflict with the health code and the septic system. So the design that we had proposed, this is a concrete pad here for the dumpster, was to let the water track down, and then beyond the concrete curb, there is the concrete pad, there's a bituminous curb, so the water tracks behind that. This is almost dead level, and it tracks behind that. We've opened up a gap behind the proposed planting island, and to get into the catch basin there. Catch basin is then going to have two features. One is we're going to use the old leaching galleys from the septic system. After the tank is removed, we're going to use, this is going to be the overflow. Initially, it's going to go into the old leaching galleys and provide groundwater recharge. When the galleys are full, it's going to then track out, and there has been there's a solid pipe that has been, since the building was built, that runs down behind the building. It'll overflow into that. The other place, this concrete pad, the loading pad, is dead level, and we're proposing that this, again, is going to come in around this side of the landscape island and track to the catch basin there. Both Scott and Will had comments on it, and in essence, I think to summarize both of them, it was to bring this catch basin out here. That would require a change in the slope. Right now, we have about a 4.2% slope from here to here. If we move this catch basin out here and make this the low point, we're going to have an 8% slope from the corner of the pad here down to the catch basin, because we're going to have to then drain around and pick it up. And in essence, that would create a depression right, in the driveway area. I don't, I don't really have any, I mean, I understand what both Scott and Will are saying. I think all of them will work. You know, I think it was Will had a comment that this might plug up with refuse and debris. You know, the Sippins maintain their property. If there is, you know, a situation, they're going to clear it up quickly. I think Scott did recommend to make this wider. We could accommodate that. That would not be an issue.
Is there a curb on that island?
Yes. Yeah, there hadn't been, but now there is. Now the landscape bed can come up because we were draining to it kind of in a rain garden fashion previously.
Couldn't go right there?
Pardon?
Could the basin go right there?
Well, again, we'd have to create a low point there. You know, like I said, everything
It's pretty
drains.
flat.
Drains to that corner. And like I said, I took a look at it this afternoon. There's a 4% grade across there. If we create a low point either here or here, it's going to create an 8% grade.
Well, why would you do that? Why can't it just stay with the 4% grade and just pick it up in the basin?
Because then we'd have a low point back here where,
Well, you wouldn't have anything there. That'd all be in the island.
but what are we going to do with this water that runs behind the dumpster?
Why wouldn't that water, well, this, what is this now? I mean, you're supposed to be putting this in, so why can't you grade that out to go to there?
Because this is proposed to be almost dead level.
I know, but you can make it, you know, well, not accentuating, I'm accentuating the heat. Why can't this all drain that way and this already is draining this way? You're putting this in, aren't you?
Right, that's to be installed, you know, but I don't see a difference, right, if the catch basin is here.
Well,
Yeah,
this is
this is
icing area.
This is the
garbage
low
area.
point. And it's right next to the galleys that we're going to be routing the stormwater
Why?
to.
You're just talking about an extra piece of pipe, I mean, it's not far away.
I have another question about the existing drain. Is that an under drain for the foundation, or is that a solid pipe?
No, that's a solid pipe.
That's,
So, as
that's
I
not
said-
Scott's understanding. I don't think that's what it's labeled as either.
Well, I looked at it this afternoon. It's exposed in this area here, and it looked to me like it's a solid pipe. It's elevation, it's way above. If the footings are down 42 inches, it's above the footings. This had and has a crushed stone apron that runs the whole length of that. And that gets, the maintenance for the Sippins on the grounds is that all that gets picked up down there.
So the curtain drain is not the pipe?
I think there was a misunderstanding that the curtain drain, no, the curtain drain is very close to the surface. In my opinion, it's not serving the footings.
All right, but if that's a solid pipe, then we don't have an issue. It's not a solid pipe, you have to put in a solid pipe.
Okay.
Is that agreeable?
Yes.
Because
Yeah,
otherwise,
I looked at it
we're
today.
dumping all that water along that foundation.
Pardon?
Otherwise, we're going to be dumping all of that water from the back lot along that foundation.
As I said, it had all been flowing here originally anyway. There just wasn't a pipe, a catch basin. All the water was winding up there. Where it was going, I don't know, but this is to provide.
While it was going over this whole yard area.
All right, staff's concern is that that was shown as an under drain, and they didn't want to introduce that water, additional water into the under drain. So if you're fine with that being a solid pipe, I think that solves any concerns.
Yes.
I've lost the understanding, if we can move on to the island that was required as the last approval for the very reason of separating the parking from this. How would an island here have any detriment to the operation of the loading area?
Well, just that there's going to be trucks loading here, and they're going to want to be moving in and out, and to just put an obstacle in front of them. The operational people said it's not going to, it's not in the most opportune place.
So a car parked here is not an obstacle?
Well, we find it highly unlikely that there's going to be cars parked there. I mean, this parking field, if you look at it during the day, it's hardly full, and this is not a convenient place to park. This is parking that really is what I call compliance parking. And I think people will realize, again, nobody parks along here.
I still really don't understand how putting an island there does anything to
Well,
get in the way of the truck movement, because the truck can't move into that parking space anyway, so.
well, it was explained to us by the operational people that to put an obstacle right at the end of the concrete pad would not be a good idea. That
Well, maybe your concrete pad isn't big enough.
Pardon?
Maybe your concrete pad isn't big enough.
Well, they said that it's just an inopportune place to put an island.
Again, show me the interference.
Pardon?
Show me the interference. How is the
Well,
truck being interfered?
yeah, we're going to have trucks loading here. If we have two trucks loading here and one pulls up, a little bit closer, it's just inconvenient for the truck driver. Why not give him the freedom of being able to make that turn? Why box him in?
Why was the island put there originally?
We thought, and this was worked out with staff, that it would be a good place to have a demarcation point between the loading zone and the parking area. Dave, you want to?
Dave Sippin, 234 Main Street LLC, Monroe, and that was something that was put there, and honestly, looking at it from a top-down, drawing, and then looking at it when this thing is half built, just brought to light. It's right in front of the tank, and the left-hand entrance to the to the terminal. The gate is right there, right next to it. It would just be in the way, and the only reason we have those three spaces in front of the tank and that the concrete pad doesn't go all the way because we needed parking. We needed to find parking. We're right at the bare minimum. The other issue is just snow plowing. We want to be able to just plow the whole thing parallel. We can't plow up against the fence or the terminal. It would be incredibly inconvenient for that. It would just be in the way. Putting bollards or a curb there is about as inconvenient as you can get. We have other parking all over the site that's perpendicular. We have vehicles up to each other, up to the buildings. There's no need for protection. I mean, we're responsible for the safe parking on this lot. And on a practical basis, we won't be parking any vehicle in those three spaces. It's there for our parking count, and we ideally would not like to have it. But I mean, as far as having it open and being able to plow it and get access, it just works way better than having any obstruction there. And the designer of the terminal agrees with us. It's just something we just didn't pay attention to when it came up. So that is our request.
Okay, thank you.
I believe that was the engineering comments.
Did you have anything else, Dave?
No, I don't.
All right, I'll start down at the end. Anybody have questions or concerns, comments?
With regards to the drainage basin, having served just one toilet in the building, it's believed that the leaching galleys are in good functional condition at this point?
Yeah, they, as I said, they were put in, they only served one toilet. There's other toilets in the building that go to another leaching field. The septic tank is out here. We never had a problem with that system. It's an arrangement that's an overflow. When the galleys fill up, it's really, it's not a bad idea to recharge the groundwater. And so we just said they're right there. We're ripping the septic tank out, but rather than rip the galleys out, we'll just use them and we'll do an overflow to the pipe.
Thanks.
How high are the tanks again?
Well, the ground in front of the tanks in this area here is at about slightly above elevation 340. And the top of the tanks are at about elevation 357. So that would be right there. And this is elevation 350 here.
17 feet.
17 feet then?
Right, but from here, this is elevation 350, so this is the top of the bank, and the top of the tank is about elevation 357.
So,
So they're about 7 feet. 7 feet higher here at the top of the tank than the ground to the east of it.
Perfect, so then a 10-foot tree is covering the tanks.
By 3 feet.
Yeah. And then how close are those other trees, if there is concern of wind, if they fall, are they gonna be falling on the, tanks? The older trees that are still standing?
Yeah, this isn't to scale at this point, but, that, we don't have the actual trees located, but, that's about 10 feet to the north, 10, 20 feet to the north.
All right, so yeah, I mean, that would just be my one concern, is that the tree falls on the tank, how much damage can that do to the propane tank? Especially planting more trees around it. I mean, smaller trees, not as big of a problem, but, yeah. All right, that's it for me, right?
The only thing, I actually, I was looking at the plan here, I actually agree with you with that buffer, the island at the end. It probably would make your life a lot easier to not have it there. But I also understand Will saying, well, if there was a car there, I totally get it, but generally in that circumstance, most people probably aren't gonna park there. So, kind of I'm good with the trees as proposed, so I'm good, thank you.
What's the other building?
Statements.
The building you're taking the call out of, what's that used for?
This is rented out to several tenants. I think
Several tenants, so the building's separated all the way through? Yeah, where are the bathrooms located in that building?
Dave, you'll have to comment.
Dave Sippin, so yeah, it's on the back, this side of the building is rented to a couple of tenants. So the tenant that's closest to the right side of it is Superior Sign. He sells signs, and he had 2 bathrooms in his unit. One was right in the upper corner, and then there was another bathroom to, kind of inward on the left. He only has like 3 employees, so he needs 1, he had 2. And the main reason we're doing this is we were getting flooding into the building on the lower right side, which is flooding because we didn't have adequate drainage. And we just said, let's just get rid of the bathroom and that septic system. And to the, moving towards the left, the other 2 spaces we occupy, where it says number 232, 1-story metal building. We use that for our HVAC division. And then the space over on the very left, 232B, is we have our fleet repairs there, so we use that. So it's us plus the 1.
So each one of those spaces that you have separated has a bathroom?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So there's adequate bathroom. So we're just getting rid of one that's not really needed. It wasn't worth it to try to connect that bathroom to the other septic system. We would have blown up the parking lot. So we just said, let's just, abandon it and get rid of that, that septic system. Because it's a septic system.
No comment.
I don't have any specific questions that I haven't already addressed. See if there's any public input. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of this application? Anyone who would like to speak in opposition? Any general questions or comments? Staff have anything else? Nope. Dave?
No, I think it's, thank you for your consideration.
Close it.
All right. Hearing is closed. 7:44. Next Next up is SCP 2019-06, file number 16148, 8 Maple Drive, and we have a letter that we received today from Russo and Rizio LLC. And Mr. addressed that this letter will serve as our request to withdraw our client's special exception permit application to the Planning and Zoning Commission for the above referenced property. The applicant requires additional time to meet with the town and discuss the requirements for a complete application. So staff will be working with the applicant and their attorney to get this back on the agenda because we have some issues there that need to be resolved. Moving on, item number 9, site development plan and permit amendment modifications, we have none. Item 10, time extensions, none. Item 11, bond releases or reductions, none. Item 12, September 19th, 2019 meeting minutes. Present at that meeting were Porter, O'Reilly, and Rosie, Condon, and Weston. Do we have a motion?
I have a motion to approve meeting minutes for September 19th, 2019, as drafted.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any corrections or comments?
No.
All right, we will call the roll.
Westland, yes.
Condon, yes.
Rosie, yes.
Porter, yes.
Lucy abstained. Mayne abstains also.
Good job.
Thank you.
Pending application, deliberations, and determinations. Okay. First up, let's talk about the garage. SCP 2019-09, file number 16198, 371 Old Zor Road. They came back to us tonight because they had to notice some additional neighbors. That was done. They had some issues with the drainage that the town engineer was concerned about. That is being worked out with the engineer. Is that correct, Paul?
Yeah. Scott's been working with him back and forth a little bit. And I think that's where they got to these drainage ways they proposed, and Scott said he's just about done. Nothing different.
All right, so anything that's still up in the air with that will be resolved between the applicant and staff. I don't believe there were any other issues concerning that, were there?
I had some just housekeeping items which they represented at the hearing that they had done, but we haven't really got a revised plan to do that, so I would just put that in the approval for confirmation that they've addressed those items.
Okay. Anybody have anything else on this that raising the flag? What's our,
We make a motion to draft approval of the letter.
all right, so we'll
With the conditions.
Okay.
work up that approval letter based on those few remaining items. CP 2018-10-A1, file number 16058, 232, 231, 236 Main Street. This is the application that we just heard. There were a couple of issues here that I think the commission needs to discuss and make a determination on. The first being the request to remove the parking island at the end of the truck loading area. I just want to get a general consensus. Yes, no?
I'm a yes to removing it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm okay with moving it. I would want to know.
It's a remove, not moving it.
Brian C. or
Oh,
Brian
Brian,
C.
I'm sorry, Robert's not seated.
Yeah.
Continue.
He's taking the spot for
Please
Michael
excuse
Riley.
me.
Michael Riley.
Where are they with the percentage of pavement and stuff? Is it really, is removing that gonna?
They're way over, they've been way over forever,
They have a ton of pavement, yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
That
I-
island was part
Okay,
of
that
that.
one little
In the original
island is-
approval, getting that island was twofold, it was getting some green space plus separating.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely understand how that can be in the way, if you want trucks coming straight in as opposed to kind of getting in and then backing up to it, so.
Well, then they shouldn't be parking spaces, right?
Yeah.
I know, but they need
They
parking.
need the parking spaces.
They need the parking spaces, because they do need the parking
I
spaces.
know, but that little, you're asking for a little spot of green is not gonna change the fact that they're way over.
Does
on
it
their
make
parking
sense
lot anyway.
to put that green spot maybe 3 or 4 spaces?
That's what
They
I was
already
wondering.
have one though.
And eliminate a parking space?
Put it next to the handicap
They
spot.
can't
They already
eliminate
have one, again, though.
Yeah, put it on the other
parking
side.
spaces. They're at their minimum.
Well, I'm saying in lieu of, give them, they give us a little green space.
Well, they're
they give us
gaining
a
back a parking space by getting rid of the island.
Yeah, so take away another parking space, turn it into an island, everyone's happy.
Further up, I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, a couple spaces up.
So make a bigger island at the end.
No, not a bigger
No,
one.
same size.
Just same place is shifted up, so it's not in their, not in their way.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Or the one at the end, you just make bigger to take over a parking
Wow.
space.
Do that too. Well, that's a handicap spot, it's next to it, so you can't.
Go back
really
to the
move
plan.
it.
The one all the way at the end?
I thought it was.
I don't
Like
think
a
so, sir.
modification thing.
Yeah.
You're right, sir.
Yeah, I know.
Good job.
But what if you just put it the one next to it and then the handicap spot has the handicap distance
You're
and
gonna
then
hide
just
the
another
handicap
one?
spot?
On top there, right? You hide
Yeah, I
it.
think they took this space, because they made this big.
Oh, they made that larger.
Oh, so then.
But you would
I was
prefer
right.
the.
Oh, so that was the plan.
So-
No, I
so
mean,
was right.
this is fine, if you're just trying to get the green space, that gets you green space. The original part of this was achievement of the green space, because you notice we let them pass on a lot of other areas. And that really was to get a separation from the tanker truck from the parking thing. You know,
Which in concept was a good idea until the operational people looked at the design.
well, that's because they've been told no one's gonna park there, so they're gonna just drive over it and they can park
Well,
two
listen,
trucks at the
it's
same
obvious
time.
people are gonna park there. I mean, it's pretty obvious.
Like,
So they
But I
they put that
understand
green
the
space
whole-
up there now, though?
the question that
We just put that on the plan up top there?
I
They
think,
had-
I think it got
No,
bigger,
it
because
got
I
bigger.
think the other one was just,
It got bigger.
that.
So they did expand, they did
So they
move
did
it, they
take
didn't
out-
remove it, they moved
And
it.
that's fine.
Yeah, I'm
So
okay with
the
that.
question
they
that I am
removed,
presenting to the commission, the applicant is requesting to eliminate the island at the end of the loading path. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, as long as you lose it up there.
Yeah, see, they, I don't know what,
Yeah, I
they
know.
captured that area, I guess. Whatever that
So
was.
So we're gaining us
The
some on top.
majority of the commission is saying yes, so that issue
Resolved.
is resolved.
So, next issue.
Next issue, down at the southeast corner of the storage building, they have that island. That
This was the
originally was going
original
to be an uncurbed planting area where surface flow was going to go into it and be kind of like a rain garden. Now they're proposing to curb that and put in a catch basin there. Now, Will and Scott are saying that they're concerned about that little gully through there getting blocked and being a maintenance issue. The engineer's concern is if he moves that catch basin to the right, where it says edge of pavement, he's concerned about the cross slope on that driveway where the trucks are gonna be driving in. And according to his calculations, it's gonna go from a 4% to an 8% slope. So he's requested to leave the catch basin where it's shown on the drawing.
Is the staff concerned that that sort of gap there between the island, or is it the location of the catch basin?
It's these two gaps that just create these little sleuth
Well,
areas, which get
is that-
freezing ice and gets leaves and garbage.
Does that gap really need to be there?
Well, it's to get the water to go here, you know,
Well,
otherwise
the
it's
water's
gonna-
gonna, if that's the low point,
The
the
water,
water's gonna
the
go.
water from the pad has to get between the building and the plant.
Well,
So,
does it,
I mean,
does it really need, why can't it just be diverted around it?
You put a pipe under it?
because,
grade it
because the
properly.
grade,
No, you would need a little bit of a,
it would
I,
pretty,
I don't understand the 8% of maybe you can expand. If there's 4% here, why can't
because his concern
they
is,
pick it up in the ground?
his concern is where that basin is located now, he would have to get that water going back to the east to get into that basin. So we would have to drop the top of that basin.
If this is higher,
Correct.
yeah,
That other one's
you got a
lower.
pond where the drain is now.
But right now, he's concerned that the water's gonna come between the island and the building. To
Ah.
get that over to the basin, he's gonna have to drop the basin.
well, why, that's what I don't understand. Why, when he paves this, why can't he grade it to there so it goes to there?
We'll run the curve right to the building, don't leave that go.
Well, that's what I'm saying, and
See, that's
to
what I
leave
was
the
just
drain,
about to say.
leave the catch basin where it is. The water will get there anyway. That's the low point.
Right, they can't put that, they can't move that curb up to the building?
Well, he's saying that that pad is relatively flat, and if you look at the grade, any pitch that is there now is going in this direction, so that's why they're leaving that gully.
What if,
Well, why do you put a
what if
basin
he, what if he
there
puts it,
then?
what if he leaves that one there, moves that island, moves that curb up against the building, and then puts another one in that top left corner, and then pipes it to the other one?
I don't want to put two catch basins.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things I don't wanna do either, but they get done.
Yeah, but that corner, if you just raise that corner a little bit, the water will flow around.
I know, but you're asking it to go up, down, and around.
I don't have a problem with this design. The only thing is, if there's a concern about that passageway getting clogged, make it a foot wider.
Is it
The
passageway?
bottom passageway or the
The
one
one
up?
between the
okay.
planter and the building.
So
You're
that's
worried about
gonna,
the
so that's
passage?
gonna eliminate more of the green though, if you do that, right? I'm just saying. I'm just
Whoa.
We're gonna do that.
Well,
Whoa.
you've already lost all that, you already lost all that, so you're making it even smaller. I don't know.
Are you concerned about the passageway getting clogged or the gully getting clogged?
What's the difference?
Well, I mean, the drain, I'm sorry.
The catch basin
The
itself.
catch basin itself?
I don't know, this is just to me, not the best
I don't-
design.
I don't know.
It's heavy maintenance.
And
You know, everything's gonna collect in here, everything's gonna collect, even if you make it a foot wider, it's gonna collect anyway.
The fact that they're using the existing abandoned galleys to recharge groundwater, whether they add green space to recharge the groundwater, or they now are tying into a galley system, they're accomplishing the same goal. They're eliminating some of the runoff. So I think that in the end, it all evens out.
Sure.
So the issue is that the commission needs to weigh in on, is this design acceptable, or do we want them to modify the design?
I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with it.
That's three, that's a majority.
We have to have them verify this pipe though.
Yes,
Right,
that
we know
that is
that.
going to be a solid pipe. And that they have to confirm. The landscaping. They have agreed to eliminate the arborvitaes and go with a white spruce, 10 to 12 feet.
They actually said two things, is what I heard anyway. I heard that, but I also heard them, I thought they said they were okay with going with the native species
Yeah.
They did say that.
instead of the non-native species they have, not just the arborvitae change, but they have other non-native species.
Right.
Right, they said they would do that. They said.
Well, I tried to get them to commit to what they were gonna put in, and they said white spruce.
Well, that was for the arborvitae,
Yeah,
but my comment was more than just that. My comment was that their species, they have three species that are also not native. And I gave them a list of native species. And I thought she said in her presentation, they were okay with changing it to native species.
She did say that.
She did say that, and she did say 10 to 12 feet, so, let's leave it then that the arborvitaes are gonna be replaced with some other species in the 10 to 12 foot range.
Maybe.
So we'll work that out with staff.
Are we saying just the arborvitae gets switched with a new tree that's
No.
native? Or are we saying get rid of the arborvitae and make the species of all the different trees native?
Well, what else did they propose there? There were only like 2 different trees there, weren't there?
They had like 3 or 4 different evergreens, which were all not native.
All right, so all native species with the arborvitae's replacement being 10 to 12 feet. There's a note here from Scott about sedimentation and erosion control. Let's put that on there. And Scott noted that the existing bonding does not need to be changed. Anything else?
You're gonna restore the plantings near the oak tree
Yes,
that they omitted.
right. Anything else? Anyone?
No, sir.
Nope. We're gonna have Will do an approval letter based on these conditions and corrections.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you got that, Will?
Yep.
We don't have to vote on it?
Not until we get the approval letter.
Uh-huh.
The 24th.
I won't be here.
You'll be here?
On the 24th? I'm having surgery on the 21st. Will not be here.
You know something before it
You
happens?
gonna come pick me up? Then I'll be here.
You got 3 days to
I
recover.
think I came here right after my
I thought you
leg
were saying
surgery.
it was when both of us survived.
Okay, good. My bad. I apologize for distraction.
Lobotomy.
Anything else that we should be deliberating on?
No.
Okay. Item number 14, regulations review amendment work session. We are potentially going to have another subcommittee meeting next week or the week after. It will depend on a couple of things. When staff can finish up their review of some of the proposed text amendments we're considering, and when some of the potential applicants get back to us with information that they're compiling. So we had one tentatively scheduled for last week that we canceled because we didn't have the new information in. As soon as we get that information, we'll schedule another meeting.
So nothing yet? Nothing?
Nothing has been scheduled yet.
Okay.
Correspondence other received. I received an email from the chairman of the town council.
Frankie?
As you may be aware, the Monroe Town Council, at the request of our first selectman, has recommissioned the Open Space Preservation and Acquisition Committee to evaluate, discuss, and make recommendations to the town of Monroe regarding the preservation and acquisition of open space parcels within the town of Monroe. There have been a number of present and future opportunities which are expected to arise in the near future in this regard. We would like to form this committee forthwith to properly evaluate the same.
Well, that sounds like fun.
I respectfully request that you make 2 recommendations from your elected body to sit on this committee, preferably one from each side of the political aisle, so we can ensure that there is bipartisan representation thereon.
I nominate me and Leon,
Well,
if we win in November.
Oh, I'm voting for
The other thing that you have to consider is that you're already on the regulations subcommittee. And, you're a valuable asset in that regard.
I love this guy.
Like my father would say.
I love this
he's a
guy. He
treasure.
says
Let's go
it,
bury
he
him out
says
in
it
the
while he
backyard.
laughs. I
What's
love
that? My father would say he's a treasure, let's go bury him in the
it.
backyard.
He says it
That's
while.
what his father says too.
My father has said that to me for 42 years.
Who's gonna, I don't know,
I nominate me and Leon.
Seeing we only have one full-time Democrat on the commission, that kind of fills that slot.
So Leon, good job. I'm willing to team up with you and join us. But Bill said no.
Well, Michael is not here, and I do want to get his input on it because
I will say I will nominate myself, and if it works out, it's
he
great. If
is,
not, then we'll go from there.
he is, big on conservation.
Oh, yeah, he is really
and,
good for that. Yeah, you know what? You and Michael will do a better job. than me. Michael will do a good job. Michael, you're going to be great with him.
But it all depends
Well, let's
on.
leave it open then.
Being Democrat.
When is this thing going to be formed?
I don't know. Well, I got this email last week.
I'm sure they're not going to do this tomorrow, probably after the election.
No, I don't think
No,
they're gonna wait
it'll
till
be
after the
before.
election.
It'll definitely be before.
Yeah?
How would they wait a month?
They won't stay waiting
Yeah.
20 years. to do it.
And seeing it as there are, I think, 3 or 4 positions on planning and zoning, and there are 3 or 4 people running for planning and zoning, I think it's a pretty safe bet that everybody that's running is gonna get elected.
You just have to vote for
You
yourself.
can't lose,
You're all
Bruno.
set.
You can't lose.
I'm worried about this one.
I'm writing in Paul over Bruno.
It would be very hard to lose this election.
Even you can't lose, Bruno.
Even I. Even
The
I
only way you
can.
could lose is absolutely no one in town votes.
If you forget to vote for yourself.
Zero.
That's the only way you lose.
Yeah.
I promise you, I will vote for myself.
I will, I'm gonna reach out to Michael and, see if he has interest in this, and then we'll readdress this. But thank you for stepping up.
I will step up for the team.
All right,
Plus I get to hang out more with Leon. That's-
moving on, chairman's report. POCD is rapidly approaching.
Awesome.
You're probably, you're a little,
I don't need to
lame
listen. I'm a
duck
lame
here.
duck,
You're a
that's right.
short-term guy, yeah,
That's right.
so.
Doesn't interest me.
Oh, it,
We
You
have
could
not,
be Paul.
you can still participate.
On which committee?
He could be one of the environments.
You can participate on the
On-
POCD committee.
Oh,
yeah.
after what?
Come to me.
Not to,
To the
not to
POCD
leave.
meeting.
The POCD.
Oh, yeah.
Was that a shot
There's a
there a
little
little
dig
bit?
there.
or was it-
You
gotta
want
show up.
dedication, you want attendance.
I'm here more than Bruno.
Why does it always come back to me?
That is true.
Thank
I
you.
just don't understand why it always comes back to me.
All right,
I'm like the punching bag of planning and zoning today.
we are going to be
Or every.
probably setting up our preliminary meeting sometime in the month of October, I would imagine, right?
It's either gonna be the last week of October or the first week of November or so, because I know that, he's on vacation. We'd have to do it next week if he's gonna do it in October, because he's on vacation from the 17th to that next week after.
Francisco?
Yeah.
So it'll be either the last week of October or the first week of November. We'll get that date firmed up with the consultant. But it's time for us to get going on this now. And this is something that everyone on the commission is expected to participate in. These meetings will be held outside of the regular commission meetings. They will be public meetings where we invite different people from town, anybody from town that wants to attend can, but depending on the subject matter of individual meetings, we may reach out to other parties that, if we're talking about business development one night, we'll want to bring more of the business community in. But we want to form a POCD committee, which will be comprised of everyone on the Planning and Zoning Commission, and in addition to that, we'll probably have 3 other individuals in an advisory capacity to sit on that committee. And then, of course, as I said, everyone else from town will be included in any of the public forum meetings that we have. So we'll be working on that in the next week or two and get this a little more finalized, make everyone aware of what the schedule is. We won't schedule it on the 24th or the 21st.
The 21st, I definitely won't be here.
Anything else, Will, or the OCD?
No, you had all the important points.
Okay. Commissioners' reports. Anybody? Commissioners, anything to report?
No, sir.
No? Staff?
Nope.
No.
Meeting adjourned?
No one has anything else?